All right, the next thing is, how do you set up a drawing so that it creates a sense of depth? And the first thing to do is just kind of to look. When you just look in front of you, you will see that the things that are in the bottom of your vision are what is closest to you. So if you draw a line here, you can almost see that it takes anything in the bottom third of the picture is generally the closest thing to you. Not always, but pretty sure. You can get sometimes things like this that go off to the side. Your middle view, so these kids here in the middle, are literally in the middle of your paper. And then anything that's in the top of your paper is instantly the back. What you need to notice is that close up, I can not only see that this line here is thicker and that this line here is thinner, but I can see the actual thickness of the table. Whereas as I move back here, that thickness is no longer two separate lines, but back in this space, it is one thick line. And then as I even move further back, I can't even see that as a thick line. So not only does the placement go from being bottom of the page to the back of the page, but then you have a line weight that goes from thick lines to thin lines, and then you also have line weight. All of your dark values in your line are going to be in the front of your composition, and we call it atmospheric perspective. As you move backwards into the space, your lines get a lot lighter within the composition. So I'm going to give you another angle of this. So even looking at them from this perspective, even though the camera is struggling to figure out what it's supposed to focus on, the one in front you can see is at the bottom part of the compositional space. You can also see that you see all the detail. You can generally see two lines for every line, kind of where the light highlights start versus the shadow starting. When you get to the middle, you will notice that you can't quite see that he has eyes. You don't see that he has buttons going down the front of him. So you actually start to lose detail the further away you go. And by the time you get to the red one, you can't see any detail at all. Also, the red one the lines are not strong, they're very faint. And then another trick that I hadn't talked about yet is actually to overlap your shapes. By doing this, it becomes harder to see that one is in front of the other or behind the other. But as soon as you do that, it instantly helps to make depth within your compositional space. And then clearly just the whole room itself shows, like, the further back in the composition we go, the further things are away. You can always have like things that stand or do something like this. That truly means that they are actually close in your compositional space. That's a whole nother skill taught in drawing too. Okay, so the last review, if this is your compositional space, objects that are close to you will be in contact for the most part with the bottom of your paper. Even if that means that they go up, they're still close within this space. All of the details are there. They have thick lines. They also have weight to the lines. Then as you go into the middle ground, you start to lose detail. You would lose line weight. The lines tend to merge into one. You lose line thickness. And it's nice to create overlap so that you are underneath. So if this is the first object, you are underneath this object. And then also don't forget, it's smaller. The object is generally, if these are the same size, it's like half the size or less, much smaller. As you get into your background, the objects are very, very small. There's virtually no detail. There is no dark lines. You have no line thickness. and your objects are extremely small. All right, it will take many practices. It's an easy thing to say, but it's a hard thing to do.